Okay, we are live. Welcome to How to Build Your Own Home every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And this is a really wonderful opportunity to talk to a realtor and a general contractor about building your own home. We've been through the process several times. We built our own home, and I'm approaching about 101, 102 homes I built over a career, 20, almost 25 years. And so from high-end custom to affordable housing, track homes, you name it, I've been through the gamut. And so if you have any questions, this is a great time to ask questions regarding that. I want to start off today with something that's really uh, it's kind of a sore spot because most people don't know any better. And because they don't know any better, they think it's the way to go on things. And it has to do with the word browbeating. Raise your hand if you know what the word browbeating means. Browbeating means that you are, let's say, like my mom is really good at going and to other countries and shopping for knickknacks or whatever, and she will try to get the best price she can. Now, obviously, there's price gouging, but there's also browbeating, and I want to talk about the two. Price gouging is where you're a tourist and you come to Egypt or whatever, and you get off the boat and all the prices are really high because you're a tourist and you don't know any better. But way down the alley, a couple blocks down the way, there's somebody who's making something that's the same thing probably, but they're a lot more affordable. Okay, that's called price gouging. They're at the front. They get you when you're least expecting it, and they're kind of gouging you. Browbeating is the other way around it. All right, let's say you go down the alley several blocks away, and you find somebody who's manufactured some trinket or something that's really beautiful, and they probably do a better job, and it feels like it's original. And you look at their price, and it's less than what you would pay if you got off the boat. All right, significantly less. But then you start to browbeat that person down. Well, can you do it for 50 cents? Can you do it for 25 cents? That's called browbeating. And browbeating is a real problem with owner builders. And it's the reason why a lot of subcontractors don't want to work with you. In fact, I just got an email this morning from a student in my program. If you need help, I'm going to remind everybody where the program is at How to Build Your Own Home, where students can talk to me through email all the time. But a student texts me a question: how do you find good contractors? You mean subcontractors, painters, concrete guys, framers, the whole works. All right. Well, you're not going to find them if you give off the radar signal that you're going to browbeat them. All right. If you're going to try to get the best deal, even cheaper than what they would give to a general contractor, you're going to give off the wrong signal, and you're not going to be able to get them to give you an estimate, and they will not want to work with you. All right. You have to expect that one thing is good enough for you. All right. My wife and I were talking about this the other night ago, and that one thing is the general contractor fee and any fees you save on the realtor side. That has to be far and above more than you could ever save on anything else. All right. So we're talking 10 to 15 to 20% on the builder fee, and it could be between 3 and 6% on the realtor fee. That's got to be enough. You didn't have to browbeat for that. You got it by default because you decided to be an owner builder. And when you become an owner builder, you're saving those fees right off the bat, right, honey?
Yeah.
All right.
That's
So
smart.
why browbeat? Why brow? It's not that you want to get something for the most expensive price, but you want to be able to get people. Um, you want to be able to hire people. You want to be able to get bids. You want to be able to get estimates, and you want to be able to hire people. You want to be able to get going on stuff like this. And so I've seen owner builders ask the most ridiculous things like you could ever imagine. Like, how much would it be if you just painted the ceiling and I do the rest? All right. Do you think they want to come and do all the? It's called mobilization costs. You know what their mobilization cost is just to be on a job site? It's heavy-handed: scaffolding, ladders, paint, travel time, gas time. All that is a cost that they have to incur. Do you think that they want to cut down on their estimate just so you can do this and they'll just do the hard part? They'll actually, I'll bid it for you, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to change my bid substantially to the point where it's more costly for you to do that. And that's where you're giving off that signal. You're giving off the signal that you're not going to really recognize people's value. You're going to try to get it as cheap as you can. You're going to browbeat to such a degree that you think you're a great builder, you're saving much, but that's what causes owner builders grief. All right.
Well, and sometimes it costs more. It ends up costing more because then you get it done and you're like, oh, I kind of don't like that. Will you come do this? Oh, I don't like that. Can you just come do the whole thing right?
Right.
Just
have them come and do the whole thing and do the whole thing right. If you find that you're financially not able to do the whole thing, even after saving on the realtor and builder fees, then you probably shouldn't be building that particular home. You need to reorient. And I've seen a lot of owner builders go through the process, which is a good process to go through. They get the design, engineering, all that. They start getting the bids coming in, and they realize that they've over-designed what they can really afford. And a lot of them go back to the drawing board, which is a good thing to do. It may cost a couple thousand more to kind of redesign a couple things and shrink things a little bit after the fact. And then they find out, okay, then they can afford it. Or they end up dropping it, then selling the plans and the house and the lot and everything as a full package. And then they come back to it later on with better feet on their feet. The point I'm getting at is that savings has to be enough. If you find that you have to browbeat, and there's other words I can use, but I'm not going to use them because I'm not anti-Semitic. As there's other words people use, but browbeating is the best word to say where you're just trying to, drop somebody.
People out. You just put it this way: you don't like to be nickel and dime from subcontractors. Yes. Well, they don't want to be nickel and dime from us.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Nickel and diming it to such a degree that it becomes not even feasible for people to come to your site. Your job site. You want people to come to your job site, because if they don't come to your job site or even give you a bid, you're dead in the water. And right now, the biggest problem I'm having, which is really, really something that shouldn't be happening in a down economy. In a down economy, you should not have problems getting subcontractors to a job site. In a pumped up economy where there's a lot of liquidity and cash, that's a different story. Everyone's competing for work. But in a down economy, and if you can't find subcontractors to come and be willing to do work on your job site, there's probably a signal you're giving that you're trying to get them for as cheap as you possibly can. And if they get that radar signal from you, either in your email or in your tone or in the sound of your voice, I remember mentoring a couple of students a couple of years ago, and they were in kind of the New Jersey area. And the husband was just a woe is me type of personality. Nothing's working. Nobody wants to come, all this. And he was kind of a heavy wave of his own emotional worries on everybody. And I was just watching Ted Lasso, and there was this really interesting story of a character. She just wakes him up. Not Ted Lasso, but the coach. What's the soccer coach who becomes a coach? Roy Kent. And she tells, "Oh, Roy Kent, stop with your woe is me. Get off your high horse and just, it was a really, really interesting scene." And he woke up, and then because he didn't want to do what she did, and he finally did what she asked him to do, and he did it better than anyone else because he didn't think he was good enough or that he wasn't great at being a spokesman. And so a lot of times owner builders can come to a job site, come to an opportunity, and they will just unleash an emotional wake of worry and fear and trepidation. And because of that, you're giving the signal that you want it for as cheap as you possibly can. And then nobody wants to deal with you. Nobody wants to help you. Nobody wants to give you a bid. And that's so important to not give off the wrong impression, not give off the wrong sense about who you are. And I wish I could just put my brain in some owner builders and I would say, okay, scan my life experience just for a second. You got it. Okay, good. You're on your way. Wouldn't that be cool? We could do that.
There's a saying that I've learned, or a phrase or whatever, that a lot of people are anxious and fearful is usually when that comes out. But if you're grateful, you can't be anxious.
Right.
If you're grateful, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I get to build my own house. I'm grateful I live in this country where I can do it. I'm grateful to live in this state, this city. I'm grateful that I can talk to people. I'm grateful I can come on live and ask my questions. I'm grateful. If you just look at all the things you're grateful for, that will change the whole perspective, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to give everyone just a real pump this week, because I know a lot of owner builders are thinking to break ground in August. August and October are really good months to break ground. And a lot of owner builders are going through an estimating and bidding process right now. I follow these trends quite a bit, and I see students that log on a lot, and a lot of them log on in the early spring, and then they log in the middle of summer to get ready for these groundbreaking opportunities. And spring or early spring or thereabout somewhere, again, depending upon where you live and your climate, and then late summer, these are times when a lot of owner builders break ground. We have a lot of owner builders finishing homes that they started last year. And so I'm following this, and right now is a bidding and estimating time for a lot of owner builders. And they're getting ready to hopefully break ground as soon as possible. And as a result, I get emails. I'm not finding subs. I'm not finding this. I go, what are you giving off? It would be cool if we had a tool or a person with a spiritual gift that could read a person's owner builder aura and say, okay, here's the aura you're giving off, and it's a little bit on the stingy gray side, and you gotta fix your aura because you're attracting
Well, I
their
think
own.
it's just appreciating people. I think that goes a long way. If you just appreciate their expertise and their knowledge and their experience, and yeah, I think appreciation goes a long way.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see any questions here, but I have one here.
There's questions. Do you want
I
to do
don't
yours, or do
see
you want me
I
to
don't
start?
see them on my side, so you'll just have to put them on the screen so I can see them. Okay, question. This is from Honey Caffeine. Hey, Honey.
I know, honey.
Please, how far apart should the vertical concrete pillars inside an omniblock wall? Your engineer will decide that, and it could be between 36 and 38. If you look at the omniblock, there's a cell here in just one block. There's a cell here and a cell here. And then when you put another omniblock up and another one, etc., they're about 30 or some of 30 something inches apart, those cells. Now, based upon your wind, hurricane, and seismic area, that will decide how often those verticals with rebar are going to be. In California, I've had some students that it's almost like every third cell, and in other places, it's like every fourth or fifth cell, something like that. I've built omniblock where it's like every fourth or fifth cell where they will do that, but your engineer is going to design that for you. So if you don't have your engineering plan now, in our download section where you can see architects, engineers, and resources, it's in the download section. We have an engineer. His name's Jeff. He's licensed in 49 states, and he does a lot of work with OmniBlock. He does a lot of engineering for OmniBlock. So if you can't find it on the engineering plans, and if you did use Jeff, then you can actually call him. If Jeff's not your engineer, call the engineer on record. Hey, I can't see it on here, but can you tell me where the verticals are going to go and how I can spot that? And he'll be happy to tell you. Now, it's not always the same. It's not always the same along every single wall. In some corners, it could actually be more. So just keep that in mind. I've had an OmniBlock home where a certain section of it, there was rebar almost in every cell, mainly because that was a wall that was a shear wall, and they needed extra support and stuff like that. So it's not always the same around the entire wall, but generally it is. But call your engineer and they should give you some insight on that. Send us some pictures. Send us a video. We'd love to see how you're doing with that.
Yeah, honey. Okay, another one.
On the OmniBlock, be half insulation and then concrete in the remaining space for a bond beam. Same for vertical pillars. Yes. In the vertical pillars, there's going to be insulation on one side and no insulation on the other side. Just keep that in mind. The neat thing about OmniBlock is it's got that thermal break inside of it. I was talking with a major hotel builder today, and I gave him some ideas, and I even mentioned OmniBlock, and they're looking at improving sound deadening qualities between rooms rather than in a typical hotel room. It's either solid concrete, which has an echoing capacity through it, or a metal frame wall, which is not that great unless they put some sound insulation in it, or just an OmniBlock wall. So I had a long conversation. He was really interested in that. He says, I've never seen this before. So yeah, it's again, look at your plans. And the hardest thing, and I'll just mention this one thing, the hardest thing with OmniBlock is the bond beam. A lot of masons that are wall masons, chimney masons, stuff like that, they don't do a bond beam. What's a bond beam? It's the metal above a window. There's a window there, all right? And there's a doorway. So how do you put the OmniBlock above windows and above doors? That's a bond beam. And that's a rebar extending 2 to 3 feet past the windows, past the window openings, and past the door openings, and then concrete's filled into that bond beam. That's a bond beam. And that requires a structural mason, all right? Somebody who's dealt with structural masonry. So that's the only headache in OmniBlock. Other than that, it's a wonderful technology, okay?
Honey also said this, that our mason is starting in 2 weeks, yay, with 35 years of experience, but never worked with OmniBlock.
If he's worked with CMU block, he will be just fine, all right? Just make sure that he puts insulation in every block. And it's easy to just move fast and forget to put insulation in, all right? So make sure he gets the insulation. And also, when he puts, here's a tip. When he puts the insulation in, that block should have wet cement at the bottom, and he should pound it down, and that styrofoam should pound right down inside that block and then squish into that cement down below. What they do is they do a row, and they let that cement cure, and they come back the next day, and there's a little bit of clip of the foam, or they just clip it off because they can't get it flat. So just watch them and say, if they're clipping it every single time, that's because they're doing a long row and it's curing, and then they can't get that full foam into the cell. So just watch them and tell them, put the block in, put the foam in, put the block in, put the foam in, put the block in, put the foam in. Don't do the foam in after it's all dried, because then they'll start clipping the bottom of that foam, and then it makes a mess everywhere, and you don't need that. So that's another piece of advice on the OmniBlock. Okay.
Good. That's a good one. Okay, Leanne.
Hey guys, I saw your video on sprinklers today. I got a quote for fire sprinklers for over 15K. Is that normal? 2,500 gallon, 2,500 square foot home, 2 floors, Southern Maryland. Is that interior sprinklers or exterior sprinklers? I don't know how to answer that. If that's interior and it's not required, if your building department is not requiring interior fire sprinklers, I wouldn't put them in. I really wouldn't. Why waste your money on that? But I do.
Interior fire sprinklers.
Yeah, if it's not required, I don't put them in. A lot of not fire departments, but building departments are asking for them. I was building up. Yeah, required by code. Yeah. I was building up in Park City, which is a ski resort, and they were requiring them everywhere. In the county where I was building, which was Ware Park City, but I was building down in the Midway area, which is in a different county, and they didn't require them. And a lot of times, because a lot of those homes were rented out to ski resort and rented overnight type stuff, so therefore it was a commercial situation. So therefore they wanted, plus they had a lot of forestry and forest fires. But my thinking is, if you're in the forest and you got a possible forest fire, put your sprinklers out on the roof. And I will be doing a video on a couple of homes I've just done that in, and I've got sprinklers on the roof. So if a fire comes, the fire department just has to turn a valve on the front porch, boom, and they turn on during a risky hot winter or hot summer seasons. So yeah, that's 15,000 is actually kind of on the high side. You can get some different bids on that one, see what you can get. That's kind of
just, yeah, I think it depends on where you're at, but always get 3 bids so you can see where it falls. Because there's somebody else here, Analog Digital, he or she thinks 15 for sprinklers pretty cheap. So it just depends on where you're at.
Well, here's the problem I'm dealing with. Gas for a home would be, for that size of home with maybe 4 outlets, stove, barbecue, fireplace, etc. That would be about $1,500 to $2,200. That's gas piping. Why does a fire suppression system have to be more than that? If it was double, I can see that. But when it's 5 times that or 4 times that, that's why I don't understand fire suppression systems. And it's kind of crazy. And a lot of them are tied up to a tank. I understand that. When the heat gets hot, the wax melts and the thing starts to go crazy for everybody. And I can understand to some degree, but I still don't understand why it's so much money. I saw prices in the $30,000, $40,000, $80,000 range for fire suppression system for homes that were like 3,500 square feet. It's crazy.
And Brady says Brady is in Wyoming, and they only require them at 4,000 square foot. That's
so build a home that's 3,900 square feet. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to do a shout out to Kai. Good to see you, Kai. It's been a while. Glad you could make it. I know the sun is shining, and so most people are out working on their homes in the summertime, but we're glad you could make it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see any questions on this end, so.
Oh, you know what? I was the same thing. So go to the sidebar. It says comments, banners, media. Just hit one of those and then go back to the comments and you'll be able to see it.
Okay. All right.
Oh, David has a good comment. This goes back to our opening session about, hey, don't click on things. What are you doing?
I'm sorry. Oh, there we are. Okay.
Let me control it.
Okay. Better to concentrate energy on contracting than scooping out quality. I know how shady a subcontractor can be.
Scoping out quality. Yeah, this is back to our conversation about nickel and diming subcontractors.
Yeah, that comment is really on key because focus on scoping out good quality. And what do I say? Quality, time, cost. Quality, time, cost. In that order and then together. So you don't exclude cost. You just hit quality first and then go, what's the time factor? Because time factor is the pivot between, lower cost or higher cost. And then, of course, finally cost. So quality, time, cost.
We have some awesome thank yous in here. So thanks.
Yeah. And if you don't know what quality is, read the book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Read that book because it's a complete book that really discusses what is quality. If you ever need a good book to read that book.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, Mondo Haas. Getting ready to pour a foundation. In Texas, temperatures will be high 90s, low 100s. The engineer specified wrapping the foundation in plastic to hold the moisture in. Have you ever used this method? I don't know what your engineer is talking about, but you live in a very humid environment. So why would you need to wrap moisture in a humid environment? Push back on your engineer and ask him that. I live in a very dry climate. In a dry climate, I can see that. But in a humid climate, I don't understand what he's talking about because it's not going to evaporate that much.
There's different temperatures in different parts of Texas, honey.
What's that?
There's different humidity in different parts of Texas. Maybe they are.
Yeah, I don't. But Texas I understand Texas to be mostly humid.
But if the engineer specified wrapping the foundation, then talk about some of the things. What are some of the
Well, you
I know
can
that they put plastic down for some of our foundations.
you can cover it with plastic after it's cured about an hour before you do any damage to it. Sometimes they can put plastic on it. They can put a smear on the slab itself, but you can cover it and it will hold moisture. But you can also put diesel fuel on it. I've seen a lot of builders do that. There's also a curing agent that will slow it down. So you don't want to put any a curing agent in or too much water. If they put too much water on it, then it's going to cure fast, and that's where you have a problem. You want it to cure slow, so less water actually causes concrete to cure slower, but it's harder to manipulate. It's harder to manage, and that's why a lot of concrete guys will add more. Give me 5 more gallons. Give me 10 more gallons, and they'll add it to the slump, and it will pour easy. It'll be easier for them to manipulate. But that sucker is going to cure up fast, and that's what can cause cracking. So if they're not experienced, and sometimes if they have a big pour, a huge pour, they're going to want to have it easily manageable, but then it's going to have a possibility of cracking. They're going to want to get on it to do their control cuts as quick as possible. So I've seen concrete subcontractors, and here's a piece of advice. Ask them, if you're doing a slab on grade that's around 2,500, 3,500 square feet, that's a lot of concrete. That could be, 16 to 30 yards in that range, which is a lot of concrete. You're going to want at least a crew of 3 to 5 guys. And if you don't, then they're going to add more water to it, have it slump easy. Then it's going to have a problem curing too fast. So, ask around and talk with your subcontractors. How many do you have on your crew? If they have a lot on their crew, then they're going to be able to manage that very easily. My first experience with concrete was when I was right out of college, helped my dad. We poured 3 yards, and I feel bad every time I walk by the piece of concrete. It's still there, but it's got cracks in it. And I wish I could go back in time and I would have just fixed that. And I could have solved that problem at the get-go, but my dad added too much water to it. It had some problems.
I thought you were going to talk about concrete. Your first concrete experience was in Las Vegas, right when we got married.
Yeah, that was brutal, but it was just me and one other guy, and we poured 60 yards. And that man was a workhorse. He taught me more hard work than anyone else I know. But then later on that summer, I helped my dad with the walkway, and didn't come out very good. Good question.
I guess there would be some questions for him or she. The engineer specified wrapping the foundation in plastic. Why not, when you get bids, get 3 bids from concrete subcontractor and ask them, hey, my engineer specified wrapping. What is your process? Ask them.
Yeah. And ask them if it's just wrapping it on the top or wrapping the bottom, because the engineer could be talking about the soil being so dry that it's going to suck the moisture too fast out of the concrete. And if that's what he means, that's a different story. He's probably looking at the geotech report and seeing what the perk rate is, or what the moisture content is, and how well it can hold moisture. And I've seen a lot of soils just really dry out a slab really fast, which is why whenever I pour, I wet down all the dirt and all the rebar and everything, just soak it really well. And then I have them pour. All my contractors do that. That way we're not drawing concrete or moisture out of the concrete. We're keeping it in there so it can cure slower and over time. So sorry if I go into building science. I can talk too much about that kind of stuff.
So maybe that's what you should ask the engineer, wrapping the foundation, top, bottom, get more specific, and then ask your subcontractors. Okay, here's one. Can Omni block be arched?
Let me see here. Can Omni block be arched? Oh, arched.
Arch it.
They said, yes, they can. They just have to cut the block. And then you still have to do the bond beam in it. And so it might be something that I would recommend this. Take the bond beam, put it up high, then have your framers come in and frame a corbel, or not a corbel, but an arch inside there, and mount it to the Omni block, and then drywall it. and there's your arch. And that's an easier arch build than trying to cut and manufacture the omniblock to fit just perfectly in a circular arch. Does that make sense? So talk with your framers and see, because they're going to do some partition framing inside the home, trusses, everything like that, and ask them if they can. That means that you'll have to raise that doorway or window, or whatever it may be. Like this here is arched in my office here. You see that there? That's just squared up. All right. That's squared up. And then my framer came in and my carpenter came in and built that arch, but the whole framing structure wasn't arched, if that makes any sense. They can arch it, the framers can, but don't make your omniblock guys do it. That's going to be too hard and too difficult, and they'll charge you for it. And then it's not going to be worth it. So just have your framers do it.
Okay. This is a good question we get a lot.
I bought stock plans from AD House Plans. I'm looking for a structural engineer to sign and seal my plans. They want to charge me to redo the plans. I don't want to repay for those services. Thoughts? Yeah, because you probably got a PDF file and you didn't have the vector file.
He says they're full CAD.
Full CAD. All right, you have the full CAD file? That's crazy. They shouldn't be charging you that.
Get another engineer.
What's that?
I said you need to get another bid from other engineers.
Yeah, get another bid from an engineer. They're just lazy. If you got the original file, they can go off of that. They can import that file right into their system. They're probably not using a CAD, or they're using something else. There's a lot more programs out there. So get another bid and check with Jeff in our program. He can probably help you out.
Yeah.
So
we're at How to Build Your Own Home. We have some resources of people. And we don't get paid from that or anything. Just when we find people that we're willing to help, we just give it. Like nothing is ever sponsored. We let you know if it's sponsored. We just are here to help you. We
have an architect. His name's Lonnie. We have an engineer named Jeff. And we've given them a lot of work over the years. And I haven't gotten any kind of payback from them. However, we do get a nice Christmas present from them. It's not a bonus.
Blanket. Did they give us a blanket? It was really pretty. It was cool.
Yeah, Lonnie gave us a nice blanket for Christmas. So
yeah,
we just want to help them out. They're great people. Lonnie's phenomenal. He's fast, quick, and he listens to you, gives you a lot of red line opportunities. And I could talk forever about him. He's wonderful.
Okay, let's see. This is Heck again. Roof trusses will be stamped as well as floor trusses from engineer. I feel like they're upselling me. Some of these guys don't do it another way. 2 estimates pretty much the same. Oh, that's weird. 2 estimates, huh?
Are you getting them from a truss plant? And a lot of truss plants will have their own engineer.
This is the same guy talking about the plans. The engineer trying to get engineers stamped.
But there's some shear walls, some supporting foundation stuff that they got to sign off on. Now, if the truss plant isn't stamping them themselves, then the engineer is going to have to stamp them.
This is the same guy, the same question, honey, from
I know
the engineer CAD plans.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Go to your building department and ask them if you need engineered plans, because there are some places in Texas, and I don't know where you are, but there are some counties in Texas where they don't ask for that. So just double check.
But don't you always say that you should get them engineered?
I always say get engineered plans because that's how you hold accountability. But I'm also saying if a framer knows what they're doing, and my framers know what they're doing, that's a different story. And you have to have a level of trust there. But
required, though.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy if you're buying that and it comes with roof and truss and floor truss plans already stamped. You get another bid. Don't go with that one guy that wants to redesign everything.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, got a quote for $110K for electrical, which was just crazy. But I just thanked them for their time and moved on. They asked why, told them they were 3 times what everyone else was bidding, just moved on. Yeah, you're going to find this, that if you gave off any impression that you got an owner builder aura about you, they're going to 3 times and double up the bid on you. And if you sign that and go with it, you're stuck. So that's why you need an extra bid or 2 or 3 to really, and again, don't give off any auras that you're owner builders, because you're going to get that kind of garbage. And you're good. You said thank you and you moved on. They were just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing if anything would stick. That's really what they're doing. And they don't care. That's a subcontractor you do not want to do business with, because when they don't care that they could actually do financial harm to somebody, you don't want them on your team, and you don't want them building on your home.
And some are just starting out and they're learning. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll learn next time.
Right.
So this is a new person on our channel that's made a comment. I'm not even going to try to attempt the name, but in California, it's cheaper to get most expensive fire sprinkler than get a permit for rebuild of a burned down house. True. Okay, I will talk about this because it is so true. Keith came to me and said, hey, I have an idea. We're up in the woods here, wilderness area. I want to try and figure out if we can do a fireproof house. I'm like, how much does that cost us? Typical, right? And he's like, I don't know. And what did it cost? About $10,000, do you think? For the 2-inch power wool, and then figuring out how to put it on and stuff like that.
About that, between 10 and 12, something like that.
Yeah. So that's what it came up, and it was still like $10,000. But you know what? It saved our home. It saved it. All the homes around us, 13 homes burnt down. And the fire chief said, we had 100-foot flames on our home, and our home saved 2 homes across the street from burning down. Like, they were amazed. The state of Utah came and asked Keith all his questions, what he did. Utah State University came and asked him what he did. He had the county come in, and then the fire and the federal fire people that came to help try to control and put the fire out. They asked him. They were all amazed. And I'm like, well, that was the best $10,000 we spent. So, and you'll get.
What I hope is that someday there's got to be, maybe this is a business we can do, honey, as be consultants on fire rating homes. And so if somebody can get a certain home rated at a certain thing, then they can take that to their insurance company and say, we're rated this way. This is the highest rating for fire prevention and fire rating on a home. Why are you upping our insurance? And then eventually you can be such highly well rated on a home that starts setting a standard for everybody else to meet. But right now that standard's not in the public discourse. Does that make sense? It's not in the public comments. That'd be something to think about. It'd be pretty cool to do. There's all kinds of business opportunities out there, folks. So.
Okay, let's see. Sorry. Okay, this question came to me via email. And it's a long one. It doesn't even look like it all fit on there.
I'm in meetings tonight, but we'll watch the live afterwards. This is a question for tonight. Where is the best place to post a question? I want to build in 3 phases. Building the dried incomplete shell of the home as part of phase 1. Building out the mother-in-law space behind and next to the garage as phase 2. The upstairs is phase 3. I want to get my certificate of occupancy after phase 1 is complete. But while phase 2 and 3 are unfinished, like an unfinished basement, do you have any
tips on what I should show on my plans to the building department permit? Do I just submit plans according to what I envision all complete phases to look like? Do I have my designer eliminate designs in those areas and call phase 2 and 3 storage or media room and show rough plumbing?
Okay, let me tell you what you're going to run into. First of all, is this a septic system?
This is Florida.
Okay, Florida it probably is not a septic unless you're in the Panhandle or some outskirts area. What's that?
He's on the beach.
Okay, on the beach. Okay, it's probably not a septic for sure. Okay, yeah, that solves that headache. Here's what I would do. Okay, they're not going to let you get a CO without the mother-in-law's build done if it's on the plans. Okay, If it's not on the plans, then you can move in when it's all done and said and done. Except the bonus area above, a lot of jurisdictions don't allow you to move in unless that's finished. They can allow an unfinished basement, but they're not allowing for an unfinished upstairs unless a couple of caveats are met. It's fully drywalled and it stops with a fire door at the top. But then you're like 80% of the way there. So you're really not saving much for later. I'm doing a bathroom over a couple streets away, and they're finishing the bathroom after it was all done. But that's a different story. So here's what I would do.
Well, it's probably different for every county or city.
I'm kind of giving away kind of a little trade secret that I've done. I'd pour the slab for the mother-in-laws and call it a shed. If it's detached, and just call it a shed. And I would sneak in plumbing underground, not so it's seen. So when it's inspected, and you can put that on the plans, but the problem is that they don't want you may have to do 2 permits. Okay, I like to avoid 2 permits because when I finish a home, I don't like the inspectors coming to my job site anymore. As long as you have an open permit, they can come on the job site anytime they want. They have free rein to come and check how things are going. The minute you get a certificate of occupancy, it's a private place. They can't enter it. They can't check things out. It's all said and done. I like to get to that point as soon as I possibly can. But if I'm going to try to squish in a mother-in-law's apartment, an ADU, after the fact, they may leave that permit open so they could come and check things out at any time. And so you want to get that finished off as quick as you possibly can. You could just call that a storage shed there. That way it would be unfinished. And I've put a toilet right under a 1/4 inch of concrete. And I've put water lines, hot and cold water lines, right under the concrete. And I've capped it off with some tape. So it wasn't hard for me to bust in because I had a bell end. Do you know what a bell end is? It's just research bell end of a pipe. And I've buried it in there, or I've capped it off, or I've done stuff like that. So then I just call it storage. And then on the plans, I show that I'm just going to maybe have a sink down the road. But when it comes to a shed, that's considered unfinished. Does that make sense? But if you call it a mother-in-law's ADU, they're going to want the whole thing finished. So what you want to do is get to a CO as quick as you can, get them out of your hair as quick as you possibly can. And it's all about how you label things.
Because you can have like a wet bar, you can have the room and just say this is going to be a wet bar for a game room. I'll have it finished.
They're going to want that finished. If it's any part of living space, they're going to want it finished. But if you call it a basement, there are a few things that are unfinished. A basement is unfinished, or a shed, or a storage shed. Like I did a home a while ago, and we did a storage area above a garage. And that was unfinished, and they were okay with that. You have to know the terminology. You have to know what to put on the plans. If you put on the plans, mother-in-law's or ADU apartment, they're going to want that finished. But if you say it's a shed and you finish it on the outside, but nothing's finished on the inside, then you just put storage in there. Fine. That's what it is. It's considered an unfinished scenario. It doesn't have to be finished.
When you did the affordable housing, you did a whole bunch. You had 60 homes where you put, was it a firewall door, stairs going up, and it was just those attic trusses, and then those families could finish later on?
Every jurisdiction was different. I did that in 3 different states: Arizona, Utah, and Nevada. And each one of them approached it differently. Some of them wanted it fully insulated. Some of them didn't care. They just wanted a firewall at the top of the stairs. Mm-hmm. Others wanted a firewall, insulation, and drywall, and then you can stop right there. So again, every jurisdiction is different, all right? talk with your building official about the bonus room. If you can do that unfinished, and just say it's storage. Don't say bonus room. You can't put on the plan bonus room. You don't want to indicate it's anywhere near a living space. Okay. They're going to want to see everything above grade finished. Okay. So on that ADU on the back, you can get it framed up, get the pad poured, and I would incorporate that as part of phase 1. And then just bury all the things that you're going to do later on. Have a sub panel back there, a 100 amp sub panel, or later, and it'll be open framing on the inside, and have a sub panel back there. So you pour your slab, but finish outside, but don't finish the inside. And then just call it storage. Then when you get your certificate of occupancy, that's finished storage. This is finished living space. And I have storage up there, which is going to be storage, nothing but. You may need to have a fire door at the top. Now, when you get a CO, guess what? A certificate of occupancy, you're free and clear. You can do whatever you want later on down the road. Does that make sense? It's all a matter of how you like. I'm going to be honest. The room I'm in right now, all right, I had to call this. I had to call it foyer entry. If I called it a den on the plans, it would have changed everything. It would have changed my septic. It would have changed a lot of other things on this home. It's silly. That's why I asked if you have a septic, because that changes everything. I had to label this room I'm in a foyer entry, right? And it's not. It's a full on den.
It is an entry. You can come in there. It's just an office. Yeah. I don't know why they think, because some offices have a door and a window and it could be a bedroom. That one doesn't have a door. So they're just thinking that maybe it could be. But it's not.
It's crazy. I had a build I did about 2 years ago, a very large cabin. And I had to talk with the health department because we're putting in a massive septic. And they were kind of going to make me put in a really ridiculous septic. And I said, this is just a bunk room. It's hardly ever going to be used. This is not permanent living, not even snowbird living. They're just going to be here a couple of times during the course of a year. And they said, you're right, Keith. There's not going to be a lot of impact. And so they reduced the size of the septic for me. So that's what I'm talking about is if you're dealing with septic, that's a whole bag of worms. And then if you're talking finished space versus bonus space versus storage space, know how to label these things on your plan and downplay what they really are. And like I did a home, we did a home where we put, where was this, honey? I actually put a sink in the garage. Okay. It was a sink somewhere. I can't remember what home I did. I've done so many builds over the years. We actually put a sink in the garage, but it wasn't a garage. It was for additional living space. And that helped them with some other issues they were running into. So they could get a CO and they can do the build out of the ADU, the apartment later on. So I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to do this in phases to such a degree that you can cash flow it easier over time. And it's all about what you submit to the county up front and how you're dealing with that. And go into the county, don't give them any plans and say, hey, I have a storage area above my garage. It's just storage area. I don't want to finish that out. What are the requirements to just not finish that out? Well, we like to have a fire door up there. That's the most common thing they'll say. Or they might say some other things. Find out what they want or what the requirements are. And if you can get that in writing, in an email or something like that, that's all the better. You want to document yourself and then go ahead and get the plans done, then submit the plans. But the more information you can get up front, the better. Okay. Sorry, I went labored on that one.
Made a mistake of buying a lot, not knowing how busy road gets on weekends. Also made a mistake of 3,100 square feet in 17 to 2,200 square foot neighborhood, 2 million plus. Was planning on high-end finishes. Should I scale down? I'm going to process.
Wow. Here's something to think about.
It's always good to scale down, make it more. You can save money and then have high-end finishes.
I've built in some very high-end communities, and the elevation issue has been a nightmare on some of those, and also the square footage on some of those. There's a thing called architectural plans, and I've told my architect to do certain things. I'll go no further. If you can read between the lines, you know what I'm talking about. I've never seen an HOA or even an architectural design review committee ever measure the plans or measure the home after the fact. They always go off the plans.
And I wasn't paying attention because I was looking at the next question. I think, and maybe I didn't hear you right. Sorry, honey, if I'm messing up. But 3,100 square feet, you're saying is going to be the biggest house in the neighborhood, which.
Well, that's what's weird is I've never seen a multi-million-dollar community that's limiting you under 2,200 square feet.
No, they're not limiting. Just all the homes in the neighborhood are 1,700 to 2,200 square feet. So he's going to be or she is going to be the biggest home in the neighborhood. You never want to be the biggest home in the neighborhood because you always raise everybody else's equity. So that's what I think they're trying to say. At least to me, that's what I'm understanding.
Yeah, that's what I see that same thing.
17 to 2,200 square foot neighborhood, or be in smaller end, so then you go up, but it all depends on your subcontractors, what you can do for the 3,100 square feet. But yeah, if you can still do those finishes and still do the 31, so it's really your budget. And you will be the biggest house in the neighborhood, but maybe other people start building too bigger houses.
We've never seen anything like that. We've seen a lot of HOAs that have a minimum square footage, but they don't cap you at the maximum. And that's a weird one. It's holding you between 17 and 2,200 square feet. Am I right?
That's not what they're trying. No, that's not what they're trying to say. The average homes are 17 to 2,200 square foot in the neighborhood. There's a kind of a rule of thumb not to be the biggest home in the neighborhood, because it's great for the smaller home because it raises their price per square foot. You're in a nicer, bigger neighborhood, but you're the smaller one. So he's okay, or she's okay to do 3,100 square feet. They're just going to be the biggest home in the neighborhood.
They're not held to that by the HOA. It's just what the market has built. And so
they're just talking about the marketing. So when they go to sell, they may not get the best price per square foot because they're the biggest home in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but I wouldn't worry about that because building bigger is a little cheaper than building smaller. So
it does depend on how you build it. You can build a 3,100 square foot home, and just if you use attic trusses and smart building.
I wouldn't worry about that because we're not over 1,000 square feet. We're like 800 or 900 square feet. That's like a large bonus room, over a garage. That's nominal. If you were building like a 5,800 square or 4,800 square foot home in a 2,200, that's not that much to really shake and bake at. And so I wouldn't worry about that too much. It's just you're gonna raise the neighborhood a little bit. My wife.
You never know. We were in a neighborhood so that we had a little home and we grew and put an addition onto that home, and we became almost one of the biggest homes in the neighborhood because there were a lot of small old homes. But then that neighborhood took off and more bigger homes started to be built, and other homes were getting knocked down and built bigger. So you never know what's going to happen to the neighborhood.
You don't know. I don't know how old your neighborhood is. My wife made a real good point. We went from like a barely 900 square foot home, a little small pioneer home.
1,100 square feet. Yeah.
Yeah, 1,100. We did that to 3,400, and we kept going with additions in the back.
No, it was 1,700, 1,100 to 1,700.
Then we doubled that to 3,400. So 17 to 17 to 34. So we doubled that, and then we added a garage and stuff in the far back. You're just upping the value of the community. That's all you're doing. But I would worry if you're. We've seen homes. There are some homes in the St. George area where there's a 28,000 square foot home next to a 2,500 square foot home.
a 1,200 square foot home.
You know,
there's a 4,000 square foot home next to a 1,200 square foot home.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think just down the street, there might even be one that's only 900 square feet. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
we see that in our state all the time.
Yep.
But you're not so far apart. We'll move on, but you're not that far apart, and I wouldn't worry about that. The busy street, yeah, goes with the territory sometimes, but I wouldn't let that deter you.
Okay, here we go.
A few more minutes. Okay.
A new person. All right.
Thomas Franco, building in AE, Arizona. I think, is that Arizona or flood zone in Texas?
Building in AE.
We need to build 6 feet above grade. Can I use a 3-foot pier and beam and 3-foot engineered house pad to keep the pier and beam to a minimum height? I would prefer to build. If it's noisy, it's because it's raining outside. I would prefer to build the pad up. If you have access to dirt, good fill, build the pad up, then do a stem wall if you can or what have you, and then bring it up another 2 feet or what have you after that. I'd have to look at the site, how much acreage you have, how much access to soil you do have, and bringing the pad up naturally and then building your pad up on top of that. I wouldn't try to do it with piers, and I wouldn't try to do it with that means unless you do not have access to clean fill. If you have access to clean fill, that would be the most ideal. But I'm not a fan of piers because in Texas, you can get cold temperatures coming underneath that pier and freezing everything off. The only time I do piers is when I'm on the coastal plain, Florida piers, or I'm cantilevering out over a deck, something like that. But look at your land and how much soil you have access to. Okay, we'll take one more or two more questions here. Greetings, First Live. Hey, in Corpus Christi, are you attending the Build Show in San Antonio in September? Thank you for providing great insights, Sean. I don't know.
I haven't got tickets in September.
No, we haven't got tickets. So maybe my wife. Maybe we should go on another vacation.
I was actually looking at that today. I started the email for the show. I'm like, oh, I'll get to it, but I haven't got to it today.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty busy day. Oh, Mackenzie is going to have her baby any day, and she is going to be. It's raining up there. Ooh, okay.
It's raining.
I'm still at work. But so send out your good prayers for Mackenzie because she's going to be induced tomorrow. She doesn't have the baby today. So that's why I didn't have a live schedule, because we didn't know if we were going to be in the hospital with her and having a baby and everything. So send prayers to Mackenzie. Make sure the baby's going to be healthy and strong, and she'll do great. That's our excitement that's going on right now.
Okay.
Okay. And
one
yes,
more. We'll take
the blanket is a lifetime present. It really is. We love it. I snuggle with it every evening. So I love the blanket.
Yeah.
Okay. Thumbs up reminder. Yes, please. This helps us. Algorithms. If there's anything else you can do, just give us a thumbs up because it really does help. Type
into Google how to build your own home and leave a review there. That would be wonderful.
Review, yep.
Type into how to build your own home and leave a review. And if you want, leave one for Kelsch Construction too. That'd be wonderful.
Okay, this is a good. Will your course work with build a barndominium? Yes,
it will. It's the same process of bidding, estimating, and scheduling and managing a construction job. The only difference is one subcontractor is handling a big part of it, the frame structure. That's all. It's the same thing.
And you can go to how to build your own home. See, I can't even. howtobuildyourhome.com. And we have a Discord group too. If you're in the self-managed program, we have a Discord group, and it's divided into different sections of the country, and we're helping each other, and we're asking questions and showing pictures. And it's really great. Let's see here. Oh, the Mall Pearl. Hi. She likes our video. On the contractors.
I really like it, and who should and shouldn't be their own contractor. That was.
Okay, yeah, we just had that video.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'm not reading them fast enough. Being that this will be my first home as an owner builder, I don't want the bare minimum to pass inspection when subcontractors are building either foundation say, how do I figure this out?
I don't want the bare minimum to pass inspection when subcontractor is building either foundation. Here's a good bare minimum
checklist we have. Wouldn't that help?
Yeah, here's a good example. For example, if you're doing a slab on grade, a lot of foundation guys won't put rebar in the foundation. They won't care, and it will crack, but it's not going to separate too badly, but there will be a crack in it. The highest end you can is make sure they put rebar, number 3 rebar, and maybe 2 foot, 3 foot on center, and then do control cuts every 10 foot on center. But I'm finding 4 foot on center is even better. You have to push the envelope on quality on some of these guys. I've had a concrete guy that we've used, and he's not that great. He's got a great crew. They're fast, but I've got another crew that I use, and they're very high end on quality. Whereas if he has the other, and he's got just himself and his 2 sons. The other crew, he's got 5 guys. He's got to get in there and out as quick as he can to make sure that his labor costs are as affordable as possible. And you have to just kind of read this on subcontractors, and it takes a long time. And what's funny is that when you go through this process, you're going to say, I can do that better. It's like I'm running a marathon for the first time. I was in pain crossing the finish line, and I swore I was going to never do this. And everybody rooted for me, and I crossed the finish line. Nice water was being sprayed on me, and I go, I can do that again. And that's kind of what you're going to experience. But keep these people in your palm of your hand. Love them, care for them, but ask them what would they do if this was their home. They will give you the improvements on that, and ask them. And if you ever want, have a consult with me. I've done the consult with people, and I've looked at estimates, I've looked at bids, I've looked at their budget. Most of the people call me for a consult on their plans. We go over their plans, hiccups, issues that they're going to have. But if you're worried about that, before you go, I would just say have a consult with me if you want, and I'll look at your budget and I'll look at your plans, and I can catch a lot of stuff, so I can help you out. So if you're interested, check that out.
He's good, making good use of space.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Well, we got to go. We're going to run out of time here. If you let's just do this one more question here.
We have a lot.
I'm needing solid wood floors in southern Utah. Do you
Doors
or other need 7 to 6 foot high and 1 3/4 inch thickness? Wanting pre-hung doors if possible. Pre-hung doors, you can go to Sun Pro. They have a door shop in town. They manufacture all their doors. In fact, we're going to be doing a video tour of their door shop. They're finally up and running, and that's another video we'll be doing. I also have a company up north that does a lot of trim work, and they also build and manufacture doors. Why would you want to buy doors from here? Because the doors that are manufactured here are manufactured in a dry climate, not a wet climate. And so it's a little easier on the install. I'd rather have a door absorb moisture moving to a humid environment rather than coming from a humid environment and then a dry environment. Because when doors start drying out, they come from a humid environment, they do their thing, all right? But it's easier for wood to absorb moisture than to give up moisture. So we have wonderful door shops. We're going to talk about it on some videos and why you might want to think about having your trusses and even your doors manufactured at some of the largest plants in the Western United States, literally the largest plants. And they service a lot of homes and builders throughout the Intermountain West. So look for that to come up on some future videos. Okay.
Okay, I have to throw this one in because this is a good question, because a lot of people are worried. They're just in the idea phase and making plans. And so I'm worried about spending money on an architect and house plans only to get bids from builders afterwards and find out the project was outside my budget. Yes. Any thoughts? Okay. That's a great question.
Go to the First Steps course.
Okay. We have a First Steps course that will go into calculating that.
Yeah, you need to, if you haven't done the First Steps course, do that. The 3rd module in that course gives a formula for finding the actual real cost per square foot with plus or minus a few thousand in your particular market. Once you know what that is, and I can't explain that too much here. I'll go into too much of a detail, but the formula, you go through that worksheet, do it 3 to 4 times. Just go through that worksheet, and at the end of that, you'll find out what you can build and how much of a square footage you can build and what the real cost is going to be. But there's no other course like it. There's no other module like it in the market. Take the First Steps course. If you buy the self-managed course, it comes with that. And I always tell students, please start with the First Steps course. Do that first. You can do that on an evening with you and your husband or wife.
Yeah, it's like 12 little modules.
Yeah.
They're most asked questions. And that's what I did is I took the most asked questions and the biggest fears, and we just answered all of those. But I did want to bring up this is a good point, and we agree on this too, that an architect is not all states need architects, but a draftsperson, they usually do it for price per square foot, and you can get it for a lot less, like 80% less than an architect. And then you can make adjustments, and then it's not as much. I think our very first house plan we ever built, so Keith and I were teachers, and we decided we were going to be owner builders, and we did a draftsperson, and I think it was like $2,200 for her to draw up we already had sketched out, and then they did it, and then we could go back and fix things, and then we could get bids. And so $2,200 is a lot cheaper than
she didn't catch everything, so the framer fixed a lot of the problems, but it worked out.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to be back here next week, every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Have your questions ready. If you can't be here and you're watching after the fact, go to How to Build Your Own Home. Contact the instructor. Questions will come to me, and we'll read those first. That way you can come to the video and listen to your question, get answered by a realtor and a builder. And so we are here from you. We'll see you guys next Thursday. And again, go to howtobuildyourOwnHome and .com. Check out the courses, First Steps course, self-managed course. It's the best out there, most affordable, and the most efficient, and it's going to help you manage a build without a general contractor. We'll see you guys next time.